Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at a couple of things we've actually looked at before, but we've got a whole bunch of new information now, and there's a lot that we can have a little bit of a chat about. This is a video I've spent the last few days really looking around and trying to sort out so that I can actually bring it to you. And I don't have a lot of answers, but I have a lot of speculation and a lot of interesting things that we can have a little bit of a chat about. So what we need to do, first of all, is go back to a few weeks ago when I showed you that the Pokemon Company over in Japan had filed a new trademark for V-Union. And then, of course, that led to the incredibly fair question, well, what's V-Union? And at the time, the prediction that I had was that it was going to be a new mechanic. A new mechanic whereby you essentially combined maybe two Pokemon V on the field into one Pokemon V Max. So the best parallel we have here is to the old Legend cards that came around in the Heart Gold Soul Silver era. And actually, while we're here, a plug, because I'm doing a complete history series on this channel, and those videos take ages to make, but I'm charting the complete history of the Pokemon trading card game from the base set right through to today. And I just uploaded a new video yesterday. That one covered Undaunted. So if you would be kind enough to go and check that series out, those videos take ages, and I would be incredibly grateful to you. But we had Legend cards like Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, and essentially what you would do is you would have to play both of those cards at the same time. You would have to have both of them in your hand, except for one random item card we're not going to talk about, and you had to play them at the same time. Now, V-Union could be something like this, a pair of cards that must be played together. Or they could be something a bit more interesting, a bit more different, whereby you would have two Pokemon V on the field and combine them into a V Max. So for me here, and this was my initial thought when I saw V-Union, we know we've got Calyrex. And we know that Calyrex can either ride Spectria or Galastria, although as I've told you in a couple of videos, it's important to note that Spectria in German has the name Phantoros. So there is absolutely no way, when I'm giving examples, I'm not going for Spectria because Phantoros. So essentially what you would have is you would have a Calyrex V and a Spectria V on the field. And then when you had them on the field, there would be an ability, maybe an item card, but probably an ability, I would imagine on Calyrex, whereby you could join it, form a union, if you will, between Calyrex and Spectria to make Shadow Rider Calyrex. And this to me made a huge amount of sense, but there has been a huge dagger in that particular theory, and it is this. You see, I also told you fairly recently that we have seen the dummy pack art for Sword and Shield 6, which is Jetpack Poltergeist and Silver Lance, featuring Shadow Rider and Ice Rider Calyrex, respectively. And you look at the dummy art and you go, well, hang on a second, Wassy. This could be exactly what you're talking about. This could be the set that brings in V-Union with those Pokemon, and you're absolutely right, it could. Even down to the fact that we have had it confirmed that in that particular set, we will be getting Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX and Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX will be making their debut. And if that is all that we had seen, that was going to make a little bit of sense. I could get on board with that. If that was all that we had seen, I could almost make that prediction. Except we also saw the Silver Lance Jet Black Poltergeist Jumbo Pack. And in that set, you get 2 packs of Silver Lance, 2 packs of Jet Black Poltergeist, and 3 promo cards, as well as a coin, 1 Mirror Foil item card, 1 Mirror Foil Special Energy card, and 1 Foil Pokemon V, either Ice Rider Calyrex V or Shadow Rider Calyrex V. So there's no way this V-Union is Calyrex and Spectria forming together into Shadow Rider Calyrex. If that was the case, why would we also have Shadow Rider Calyrex V? So what this tells us is we are getting Shadow Rider and Ice Rider Calyrex V that just VMAX in the usual way, and that means that we are not getting this V-Union mechanic, at least in terms of Calyrex and his Aussies, in Sword and Shield 6. Maybe in the future, but in Sword and Shield 6, we're not getting it. That is not what V-Union is. It can't be what V-Union is, because also, we've had a bunch of pre-release information about Sword and Shield 6, and it does not mention either V-Union or some kind of mechanic that sounds like it, or even some new mechanic. So it's not happening. That's not what it is. Maybe in the future we'll get Calyrex in this way, but why would they introduce Shadow Rider and Ice Rider Calyrex as regular Vs and VMAXs and then transition into joining them together later on? That doesn't make any sense to me. That would be weird. Now, this is essentially the most distant set we know of over in Japan. It has got a release date scheduled at the moment for the 23rd of April. So on the 23rd of April, this set is going to be making its debut. Okay, what happens after that? And I think V-Union happens after that. Now, one really interesting thing that has gone and been spoiled last week, I want to say, and we mentioned this ever so quickly, but I really didn't have any kind of a bead on it. I've had to sit down and do a bunch of research and a bunch of thinking. But essentially, we have had another trademark over in Japan, which has gone and been registered for Fusion Arts. By the way, when I talk about registered trademarks, we only on this channel, when we're talking about the TCG, we are only looking at trademarks which are registered under category 28, which covers toys and also trading cards. And I know it might not be for the TCG, but I'm working with Primal Lugia here and etc. And we're usually pretty good at figuring out which one's a TCG. So maybe these go together. Maybe Fusion Arts is actually the set and V-Union is the mechanic. Because I still think that V-Union is a new type of Pokemon V. If we look back to the logo, it is the Pokemon V logo with Dash Union after it. Or the Pokemon V Max logo with Max Gone and Dash Union after it. So I think it is extremely likely that we are going to be seeing a Union type of Pokemon V. That seems pretty good to me. Now, to be fair, there are a couple of Pokemon here that would work more than others. I mean, at the higher, more likely end, we've got Zygarde. Like, bearing in mind, Zygarde is literally just a bunch of little cells joined together to make up Zygarde, so that kind of makes sense. Melmetal is the other one that kind of springs to mind for me, bearing in mind that Melmetal is basically just a bunch of Meltan. I mean, according to Bulbapedia, when Melmetal reaches the end of its life, it will rust and split itself into multiple Meltan from the small shards left behind. It's basically just a bunch of Meltan fused into Melmetal. I mean, in Pokemon Go, you literally need 400 Meltan candy, which is absolutely ridiculous. So my point here is that we do have a couple of Pokemon that fuse. I mean, you could also mention like Phalanx, which is obviously Phalanx is not what we see as Phalanx is actually like 6 little Phalanx all kind of joined together in a little bit of a line, which is adorable. Maybe it could be something along those lines, but I severely doubt it. And honestly, even if we go down the Zygarde / Melmetal route, that's like 2 Pokemon. If I've missed any obvious ones in terms of fusion, let me know in the comment section. These are the best ones I could come up with, having a little bit of a think. So where does that leave us? Well, I still think Fusion Arts is probably a set name, and I think V-Union is a new type of Pokemon V, so I think in the near future we are going to see the set Fusion Arts, which is bringing in the V-Union mechanic. I think it's going to be a new type of Pokemon V, and I still think we are talking about having 2 Pokemon V on the field, and then combining them whether into a new Pokemon V or otherwise. I gave you the example of Legend Pokemon earlier. I could also have given you the example of Break Pokemon that you essentially put on top of regular Pokemon, which of course worked in pretty much the same way as Level X Pokemon, as an example. And maybe this is going to be the kind of thing we see. Maybe this is going to be how it's dealt with. All I can tell you is that I don't think it's going to be that. because I do think it is going to be joining two things that are already on the field rather than playing something onto the field and then playing something else on top of it. It's an awful lot of speculation in today's video, but we've got a couple of trademarks all going together, and we know nothing's coming before April because Sword and Shield 6 has basically told us that, and we know that V-Union, at least initially, isn't just Ice Rider and Shadow Rider Calyrex, but we don't know a huge amount else, and I find speculation very fun indeed. But hey, I'd like to know what you think about all of this, ladies and gentlemen, and I'd like to know any predictions that you've got, so let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.